Blessed morning. Quick video. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Take what resonate, what does, what doesn't. And by all means, I would advise anybody to do your own research about anything that you hear that I choose to say, because everything I choose to say is based off my own opinion. Doesn't make it true, doesn't make it false. So please do your own research. Woke up this morning and I'm looking at some videos, and the brothers that I'm seeing on the videos talking about Jesus being a man of melon, of this nature. I don't think there's a question that I'm gonna use the word black. I don't like to, but I'm gonna use the word black just so I can get my message across. That blacks was here on earth first. We are the original indigenous people on earth. Once upon a time, and this is also going to go into the biblical, but just bear with me, and again, do your own research. And before I get started, I just want to say this: what I choose to say is stuff that I've researched and stuff that I've read about. Again, there's a lot of information out there. It doesn't make it all true. Doesn't make it all false either. So it just gives me an opinion. However, I am not a racist. I love all people. I love all man. Race, creed doesn't matter. You know what I respect all. So with that being said, I want to say this: people of melon, blacks, was here on Earth first. Now, whether you believe in the Anunnakis or God or whatever you prefer to believe, it all coexists together. The Europeans was a race that was created by, you can say, the God, or you can say Anunnakis, or you can say other extraterrestrials. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you prefer to believe. The European race was created. It took 666 years to create the European race. How did they create the European race? They bred the melon out of the race. Okay? So it took 666 years to create the European race. The gods, the Anunnakis, whoever it was, they went to an island called Palan. Palan is an island in southern Europe, I believe. This is why the race come from Europe. They went to the island of Palan. Scientists, Anunnakis, whoever you want to portray it to be. They went to the island of Palan and they bred out the millions of these races. It was the light race, the light-skinned race, Indians, whoever you want to call it. And then it came out to, they finally bred out the melon out of the skin of the European race. This is another example why they talk about Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve not being the first mankind on earth. Adam and Eve being the first Europeans. All right. This is where they get that stigma or whatever. That's what they get this from. And so Adam and Eve being the first Europeans bred here on earth. And so with that being said, you have to question, how did the European get the power that they have when the blacks was so they populated the earth? Well, we all know blacks are very, I would like to think, humble for the most part. At one point we were very humble, very modest, very loving people. And so we didn't know anything about war, famine, or anything like that. That was something that was brought to earth. And it was brought by the Anunnakis or whatever like that when they bred the Europeans to actually be slaves for their kind. And so once their numbers start growing throughout the world, as the Europeans, if you look at the Vikings and things of this nature, they explored and they conquered these different nations because they just took over. And this is what they did. Well, when their numbers start rising, then the Anunnakis or whoever, they went underground. Now, not all, some left went underground and some went to another, what word am I looking for? Went to another galaxy or whatever like that, right? Remember in the Bible how they talk about the war in the skies, right? Chariots in the sky and blah, 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 blah. Well, that has a lot to do with the Anunnakis, extraterrestrial or whatever. And again, so the Europeans was bred to be slaves to these Anunnakis. Once their numbers start growing, Anunnakis went underground. They allowed they was allowed to take over the world and run the world with Anunnakis or whoever have you at the helm. They run the situation. They run this world. Now, you can talk about the Rothschilds, you can talk about blah, 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 but it's all about DNA. It's all about the bloodline. This is what controls this world, bloodline. This is why they created these secret societies and so forth, because it's the bloodline that runs these worlds that's connected directly to the Anunnakis or whoever have you. So again, the Europeans was put in place to run this world, and they had the information, they had the knowledge more so than the people that originated from here, the blacks. So they had a little bit more acknowledgement of weaponry, of just, of all type of different things. They had more knowledge. So when they came, when they bred and they spread it throughout the world, they start conquering, period. And so, but there's a time period that they have this, there's a time period, that they have time to control this world. All right. Again, the time period is about up. This world has reset itself multiple times. And this is why they make sure that their DNA, they make sure they're in position each time it happens. And this is why the scurry of cloning and all these things is taking place in this world. Bottom line is that we all have a God that we have to answer to. All of us. It doesn't matter where you're from, what galaxy you're from. We all have a God to answer to. I think we talk more about our past than we need to talk about our present. We need to talk about the present time. And the present time that we're going into is important because it's going to affect all of us. Again, do your own research. You know what I mean? I'm not saying this to be facetious or be mean to anyone of this nature, nothing like that. I'm giving you information that I've gathered. And so you can go and find this information for yourself. But again, I think we focus too much on our past. And somebody would say, well, your past have a lot to do with your present. It does, but how much time do we actually spend on it? You know what I mean? I think we spend a lot of time, and if you look at our history, dealing with the Europeans of this nature, our history has always been slavery. They kept us, it just, what word am I looking for? They kept us in the dark on a lot of things. And the reason they kept us in the dark on a lot of things, because they don't want us to truly know our nature and where we stand and where we belong in this world. Now with the internet, a lot of things are coming out. A lot of people are learning a lot of different things. And so the information is out there. It's vast information is out there. And so, we just learning a lot. You know what I'm saying? And this has nothing to do with us as being evil. We all evil in a sense. We all have the capability of being evil. So, but some people use their powers for the wrong thing. You know what I mean? And, you talking about a privilege. People talking about people thinking they have privilege and things of this nature. Well, if you knew that where you actually came from and you was given this opportunity to run this world, you was given this knowledge, well, of course you would feel like you're privileged in a sense, because most people don't have this information. And I made a video once before and I said racism has to do with knowledge. As long as you keep people segregated, then there's certain knowledge that's going to be saved, and there's certain knowledge that's going to be shared, and there's certain knowledge that won't be shared. And that's the importance of segregation. So there's just a lot of information out there. I just wanted to get on here and make my opinion on this. And again, I don't mean anything by it. It's just information. You do your own research, come up with your own conclusions. But yeah, that's about that. Y'all stay blessed.